Asia's wealthiest cities boast world-class infrastructure, top-notch education systems, and diverse culture scenes. But in the underbelly of the big cities, criminal records, undocumented status, and even age are keeping some from progressing with the rest of society.
我老家来自安徽，属于安徽的一个小县城。90年35虚岁了，已经到了没有梦想的那个年龄了。我是去年23年1月份开始转行做这个的嘛。开始的时候是抱着就是过渡一下，继续去找工作这个想法来做的。但是随着这个越找越做，越发现这个年龄在上海不是特别好混，不是特别好找。有很多人说很喜欢外卖行业的自由，其实如果说你真正跑起来，你其实一点都不自由。从早上8、9点钟，可能到晚上11、12点钟，这是我的一个工作时间。有的人可能时间更久。整个行业的话，现在目前处于一个很低谷期吧，单价低、单量少、骑手多，基本上就是。如果说今年让我才开始跑外卖的话，我估计我坚持不了1个礼拜，我就不会去做了。对于一个新手来说的话，可能一天跑下来还不够你的生活成本，对吧？像我们跑的时间久一点了，然后地方熟悉一点了，目前还在坚持。排很久了。
青团上来。
给他打个电话就可以了。有时候送到那个小区里面，一些年龄大一点的，或者是就是性格和蔼一点的，他会主动让电梯给你。您先走，让你先走。他知道你很急，你很忙，他让你先走，他宁愿等下一班。哎，你好，外卖放桌子上了啊。外卖放桌子上了啊。那昨天也遇到一个态度不好的，送到人家办公楼，也很急嘛，也没有看他们说什么警示，外卖小哥不给入内，让你在门口打电话，我推门进去了，人家就呵斥你，让你离开这里，也有。最困难的可能就是下雨天啊，那个雨水比较大，路面比较滑，很容易出交通事故。
好。
虽然我们现在有保险啊，但是你受伤了之后，这个东西你一天就白干了，因为没有钱挣了嘛，对吧？1天、2天或者3天，你要休养一下嘛。房租啊，然后小朋友吃喝呀，然后目前差不多有个1万多块钱吧。但是在上海这一块的话，1万多块钱，像我们租个房子都要2000钱了，对不对？如果是和老婆小孩一块住，所以租的像他们有的外卖小哥可能他们合租一下，成本没这么大。那我这一块可能是最大的一块吧，基本上说余不了什么钱。
主要是我家里发展有点慢，然后那个工资对我来说不太高。我现在有点负债，然后说想着来上海。上海这地方毕竟是在国内的1线城市嘛，我想看一下有没有什么机会，或者是找点高工作的、高收入的，去还一下我目前的这个负债的情况。
哎，哥们，咱们到了啊！秒卡清10啊！
学历比较低吧，然后14岁就不上学了嘛，在初2的时候就已经不上学了。
23。
这个工作吧，看你说辛不辛苦也要因人而异了。对我来说的话，这个工作还挺好啊，没有什么职场困扰。我之前干保安 也是要听一个小队长的，那个我太繁琐了。干了快递员这个外卖员之后，觉得没有人管。现在包容性还挺好的，就像上海这个地方还是挺好的，基本上大家都理解，都知道快递员还有外卖员都很辛苦，基本上一般不会遇到什么那种刁难人的情况，一般没有。我现在住的是上海的一个郊区吧，松江区。对，这是听他们说这是老上海，就是上海发源地嘛。然后我想着来这边试一试，但是呢，这边呢是因为是郊区嘛，他就说他这个工作，不管是工作也好还是什么也好，消费低，但是工资也低。这个时候是我最难的时候，我那个时候是在睡大街，然后第二天起来就是帮别人送菜送饭，然后还不能到处跑，还要天天做核酸啊，做这个做那个。那个时候天又冷，然后又没有被子，基本上都是找一个桥洞或者找一个地下室就睡了。
今年先看一下小孩幼儿园能不能读上，如果说读不上的话，可能把老婆小孩都送回老家去，一个人在这里先干着，然后同时再能换一份工作的话，肯定会换一份工作啊。如果说换不了的话，还会再继续坚持个一段时间吧。
I know I didn't choose to become a refugee. Unfortunately, when you look at whatever is going on around the world, no one knows who will be the next refugee.
60-year-old Emil Girimana remembers vividly the day he fled Burundi 20 years ago.
I just had 2 hours to leave home. It's just advice from my friends who were part of the meeting just to end my life, who just secretly tell me, Emil, just get out from this country. So that was around 4 o'clock. I had to leave before 6. I didn't choose to come to Hong Kong. This was the only place I could come without visa.
Emil, who is a lawyer in Burundi, has been in Hong Kong ever since. For the last 2 years, he has come to the Kowloon Union Church at least once a week. Working with a small team, he unloads boxes of fruits and dried products quickly. Soon, a long line forms under the hot afternoon sun.
Thank you, Sir Emil. You're so good.
And Emil greets most of them by name. They are refugees, just like him. Though Hong Kong does not grant asylum, applicants can lodge a non-refoulement claim. That protects them from being sent back to a country where they could face torture or irreparable harm. But after 29,000 claims in the last 15 years, only 330 were successful or substantiated.
So I got my case rejected 3 times. I'm saying that your family hasn't been targeted yet, your family hasn't been tortured yet, your family doesn't have any scars of gunshots on your body. So that's why they keep rejecting my case. And you keep waiting and waiting. 8 years is not a small amount. Last year in July, when I got a call from the immigration saying, oh, we have some good news for you. That is the only news that any asylum seeker wants to hear in their life.
That's when the process to seek resettlement begins. But it's a journey that can take years. And in the financial hub like Hong Kong, it's a costly wait that many struggle with.
Just simple example. Somebody who give you rice without rice cooker, how can you eat rice? So the gap is really huge. They are getting 1,500 for rent. In Hong Kong, the minimum rental rate is more than 2,500. Somebody who use $40 a day, that's really not reasonable.
Refugees receive a monthly allowance of around US $400 from the government and are not allowed to work in Hong Kong. Government expenses for this went up by US $12.7 million last financial year from 5 years ago. The Immigration Department may also grant exceptions to work on a discretionary basis. It's approved nearly 530 applications since 2021. And the NGOs are often at the heart of these conversations.
That permission to work is usually capped at 6 months, so you have to renew it, and you can work for specifically one particular employer. And that's already an expansion of the system from a few years back. So the process, unfortunately, I think, doesn't allow people to fully contribute their skills. And we're seeing a lot of skilled people who were previously nurses or journalists or lawyers, ending up with jobs, opening doors at hotels. I think it's one step at a time.
But for the 1,000 claimants born in Hong Kong, their struggles take on a deeper dimension.
For my son, who was born in Hong Kong, in his birth certificate, they wrote not established. Their identity is only A4 size paper, and which they're very ashamed to bring it out.
It's not any easier on those who've grown up here. Adrian, not his real name, is one of them.
I was told, you're not able to do this, you're not able to do that, you're not able to join this. And then when I asked why from my parents, that's when they told me because we are not capable of it, we are refugee.
Adrian was 6 when his family fled South Asia, but if yet to be substantiated. Despite his status, he was able to attend school with permission from the Immigration Department. But getting into university is not as straightforward. Refugee students need to be sponsored by private donors to access higher education. Even then, they have to pay international school fees, which is nearly 4 times higher than local school fees. And funding could be challenging now. With geopolitical conflicts emerging across the world, donors are prioritizing humanitarian relief efforts, so funding channels have narrowed in Hong Kong. Even if they get the funding and qualifications needed to attend college, refugee students are not allowed to take on internships. Graduation then becomes a question mark.
The Immigration Department will come to us because they want to have more information about the program that is admitting the refugees. For example, they want to know whether internship is a condition for graduation. If so, we may have to make alternative arrangements. So the teachers may consider, say, like asking the students to do a project under the supervision of faculty members. So this is the kind of alternative that allow the students to complete all the requirements.
From December 2022, a new policy allowed authorities to deport people once their non-refoulement claims were rejected, even if their appeals were still pending. It was passed to crack down on those abusing the judicial process to prolong their stay in Hong Kong.
Since the ordinance came into effect in 2022, we do see many of the clients reporting to immigration more often, and I do see that cases are being handled quicker. Many of my clients now have either been substantiated or either rejected or on appeal again. So there are movements in that aspect. But what it also causes, the other side, is the mental well-being, anxiety, stress, a lot of pressure. And also for my clients, who some of them have been here for 15, 20 years, it's the question of what about them? What's next? As they see Hong Kong in a very complex time, they also worry about their futures and their children's futures. And sometimes in Hong Kong, maybe people think, oh, they're all fake refugees and they're just here wanting to delay their time here. But actually, no, they want to move on with their lives. They want to have identity. They want to stop relying on government welfare and NGOs.
The fight for a better life doesn't stop. Emil hasn't seen his family in 2 decades. Still, he's grateful they're safe back home.
Resettlement still pending. I never lose hope. Maybe one day, I will be resettled.
This is the first class they did, right?
Yes.
Remember the first ever beginner class? As the crochet,
Uzma was allowed to work in 2023. She currently leads an empowerment program for female refugees at the same NGO that helped her.
Now that I'm working legally, you know what? I just want to help people. I just have this passion because I know how pain feels. But still hoping for the resettlement. Let's see when it happens. I know that for now I'm in a good place right now.
Adrian looks just like any other ordinary young man. Like many refugee children who've grown up in Hong Kong, he speaks fluent Cantonese. few know his status.
My goals is to get my degree and hopefully try to get a master's degree as well and try my best to help as many people as I can. I lived here for 16 years, which is more than any other place in the world that I lived in. I have friends from Hong Kong and I know their native language, so I believe I should be qualified as being a Hong Konger, and I believe I am a Hong Konger.
Life may be in limbo, but they can only forge ahead. Until then, home remains a city that doesn't recognize them.
神は悪人が知るのを喜ばない。かえってその悪人がその態度を悔い改めて生きることを神は喜ぶって。立ち返れ立ち返れ、お前の悪しき道から。
Tucked away in a residential area in Saitama City, neighboring Tokyo, is this small church. Known as the Friends of Sinners Lord Jesus Christ Church, this place of worship is living up to its name. Among its congregation of about 30 people are former drug addicts, rapists, and members of Japan's best-known organized crime syndicate, the Yakuza. Leading the service is Pastor Tatsuya Shindo, himself a former Yakuza. The 53-year-old was once a juvenile delinquent. In 1987, he joined the gang as a teenager after dropping out of high school. In a little over 10 years, he rose to a deputy leadership role. He became addicted to narcotics and went to prison 3 times. Today, the only marks left of Pastor Shindo's violent past are the missing tip of his little pinky. It was cut off in a Yakuza ritual to atone for the mistakes he made that caused damage to the gang, and skin covered in tattoos.
覚醒剤系大麻もやったし、でも主な資金源は覚醒剤かな。
The turning point came when he was in jail. He saw other convicts reading the Bible and asked his wife to bring him one. In Ezekiel, one of the books in the Old Testament, he found his redemption. After his release, he hid his past in tattoos to take up odd jobs. But Japanese society is not generally tolerant of former Yakuza seeking redemption.
真夏の暑い時にも汗でも潮吹くんですよ、白くね。着替える時に裸になった時に社長入ってきて、やばい、またこれで首だと思った時に社長がね、だからお前頑張ってんだなって一言言ってくれたのね。で、僕はもうそこで助かったし、人を大事にしていこうって。ね、そういう社長さんがいたからこそ頑張れた。
Pastor Shindo has since found his place in society again. In 2005, he made the unlikely transition from Yakuza to pastor. Today, Pastor Shindo is preaching at another church as a guest speaker. He has published books sharing the story of his redemption. Pastor Takashi Matsumura, who invited the Yakuza pastor to speak at his church, recounted their first meeting.
I was a little bit scared to see. But when I went to his church for the first time and met him, and he right away told me that, "Hey, Pastor Matsumura, I'm so happy to see you. I've been waiting for this chance." So my heart melted like ice cream. So since then, I've been good friends of him.
Organized crime gangs in Japan had more than 90,000 members 3 decades ago, but their numbers have been coming down steadily since 2009. According to the National Police Agency, in 2023, organized crime groups in Japan have only 20,400 members and associate members. That's a drop of another 2,000 from the previous year. While being a mobster in Japan is not what it was like 3 decades ago, one expert said Yakuza remains the dominant force in Japan's criminal underworld.
I don't think there is any major gang coming up. I know there have been a lot of talks about, especially Chinese gangs. There have been some incidents in the past couple of years. But the way, like the Yakuza has always been quite monopolistic, and they have been able to control most of the illegal markets. So at the moment, there is still no kind of opponent, let's say big opponent for the Yakuza.
Yakuza-turned-pastor Shindo is a minority among the minority. Christian accounts for just about 1% of Japan's population. According to one research, only 5% of former Yakuza were able to find proper employment. One major hurdle is a 5-year probation period that former gang members are required to observe, during which they are barred from opening a bank account or renting property in their own name.
If you want to stop them joining again some other form of crime. So I think a lot of people are realizing that the official changes are not there yet, but I think, I hope at least that there will be pushes to do that, because this 5-year rule that even if you leave the Yakuza, you are your hands are tied. As it was said before, it is very difficult to be reintegrated if you had been in prison, let alone if you are a Yakuza.
Pastor Shindo's life since prison has not been smooth sailing. He had a mental breakdown after losing a daughter to suicide in 2017, but having a purpose helped him bounce back. Apart from helping other former gang members seeking a new life, he's also been involved in the relief efforts to quick-hit Noto Peninsula.
幸せですよ、最高幸せ。前科者がこうやって偉そうに人の前で話してさ、ね、人の人生のために何かちょっとでも1ミリでもちょっとでも協力できるっていうね、真似事ができてるのは本当幸せなことだなと思います。はい、何のために生きてるのかっていうのが分かってるからさ、俺は受刑者とかヤクザとか社会不適合とか、ね、そういう前科者とか、そういう人たちを励まして立て上げるために僕は働きたいし、自分もそうだったからね。そのために生かされてると思ってるから。